Greetings and salutations, one and all. Jeffrey Wheatman here from Black Kite. So excited for today's session. I am joined by two friends and colleagues, Bob Manley, our Chief Security Officer. Say hi, Bob.
Hi.
No, you're supposed to say hi, Bob. All right.
Hi, Bob. No, I don't. You know me. I always go, left or right.
Yep.
I never do what you expect.
Yep. And then our second guest, and I'm actually really excited because Bob and I have done a bunch of these, but we have Gochin Tapkin. Gochin is our director of data research at Black Kite. So she works on our amazing Bright team. And I'm so excited to have her here today because I have not had the opportunity to do one of these things. So say hello to all of our listeners, Gochin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Jeffrey.
Oh my God, it is our pleasure. So today, what are we talking about? We are talking about our brand new report. It's the 2025 third-party breach report, navigating the silent breach era. And I'm going to actually start us off real quick. Gochin, you're on the team that created this report. So tell us a little bit about the report. Why do we do it? What's the purpose? And what makes this report unique? Because there are tons of reports out there, but so what's unique about this one?
Okay, great question. So at Black Kite, we all know that it's our job to take a to keep a close eye on the third-party risk management. And when I first joined the Black Kite as a newcomer to the third-party risk management arena, I was very amazed by some statistics in the third-party management risk landscape. So some statistic was saying 46% of the breaches are coming from third parties. So that was in a research report released jointly by the IBM and Panama Institute. So at that time, we were already preparing the second installment of the report. And there were this, high number of breaches coming from third parties. There were vast number of companies affected. And fast forward to today, when I look at the past, I see that there's a steady increase in the number of breaches, in the number of affected companies. But what's really important in this report is that it's not just about the numbers and the figures. There's a story behind this numbers. And what we're doing in this report is actually we're trying to understand those breaches coming from third parties. We're trying to understand where they're coming from, how they have initiated, which companies are in the target list. So we're trying to understand the third-party risk landscape so that we can be proactive in managing the risk. So this year, it's our sixth installment. We just released the report. It's out there. Please, everyone, take a look at the report. It's interactive, fun to read, easy to consume. And it's a great collective effort of the Bright team, actually.
Yeah, so thanks. I mean, we're super proud of this, and our research team is actually one of the reasons I came on board 3 years ago. And I love the concept of storytelling because anyone out there who follows me or listens to me knows that I am a big storyteller, and I love the fact that we can tell the story because facts and figures, they are what they are, and we're going to actually show some of them shortly, but the story is really where it goes. So let me kind of kick this over to you, Bob. You're a CISO, you run our program, you've run other programs earlier in your career. How does this kind of research help you do your job bigger, better, faster, more?
Well, it's interesting. There are different types of CISOs. There are CISOs who focus on things like compliance, on talking to the board, and there's those CISOs who are really proactive and active in trying to understand how they're being attacked. I kind of tend towards that level. There's an old quote. There's a book, a very ancient book called The Art of War by a warrior called Sun Tzu. And he says, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. And the value of what's in this report feeds into that if I can understand how the bad actors are looking to attack companies, and obviously we've seen the trend, and Gochin can talk about it over the series of reports, is that third party is a really good vector for bad actors. So if I can have a better understanding of data in the report, and it does actually, why I find it so valuable. It helps me know where the potential attacks are going to come from. Allows me to be proactive and know the enemy.
I love that quote, and I actually have used it many times on stage. And it also, the other part of the quote is, if you know the enemy and don't know yourself, or you know yourself and vice versa. So I love that. And Sun Tzu, I think, can help us quite a bit there. So that's super helpful. Before I hand it back to Gochin for some kind of key takeaways, because she hit on something that I want to just build on a little bit, which is really the theme of the report, which is this concept of the silent breach. So I'm going to go back 15 years ago. There was a vulnerability that announced an OpenSSL on Debian, which was in tens or hundreds of thousands of websites. And this thing was in there, and it cascaded because people didn't even realize they were using OpenSSL. They were vulnerable and had no idea. And this is that concept of the silent breach. How many of you knew that CrowdStrike was in your ecosystem? How many of you knew that MoveIt was in your ecosystem? How many of you knew that the Citrix vulnerability or the Exchange vulnerability was in your system? And the answer is, unless you are using a tool to help you understand what the ecosystem looks like, you don't know, and you get caught flat-footed. And I always say to people, kind of tongue in cheek, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You might be perfect at defending yourself. You're not, but I'm going to cut you some slack. But we know your partners are not. And we know this because that's how the bad actors are getting in. And I think that sort of silent breach is really important for people to understand. No bad actor is going to come out and put a commercial up during the Super Bowl going, hey, by the way, if you're running Exchange in one of your partners, you're a victim, right? Nobody's doing that. So, Gochin, back to you for some key takeaways here. And I think you have some slides that you're going to share, and we'll actually share the slides as well as the report with all of our listeners after. But if you want to bring that data up, Gochin, I think that would be super helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, because there are so many takeaways. So I already mentioned that over the years, we have been seeing a steady increase in the number of breaches. That's true. I mean, last year it was 80 something. This year it's 92 breaches affecting more than 220 companies. This year it's a bit less than the last year. I mean, in terms of the affected companies, it might be a sign of containment. On the other hand, it might as well be a sign of, lack of transparency, because I'd like to remind the audience that the breaches in this report should be thought of a representative set for all the third-party breaches, as well as all the, companies affected by those third-party breaches, because not all the companies explicitly disclose that they've been affected, by their third parties or some other sorts of hackers. So while, compiling the data for this report, we only took into account the companies who explicitly disclose that they've been hit. So that's one statistics. And the second one was kind of a disappointment for me. And I asked myself, okay, again, this year, so over half of the breaches were labeled as unauthorized access. So what does it mean, unauthorized access? So it's just an umbrella term that companies or vendors use when they do not want to explicitly disclose the details of the attack. Or the attack vectors that the hackers utilize to penetrate into the company. So
Gochin, let me ask you a question on that. Do we think that's because they don't know, or do we think it's because they refuse to talk about it?
Well, I'm not gonna give the benefit of doubt here. I'm thinking of it more in terms of they don't want to disclose the details, and they don't want to disclose how insecure they were before the attack. We'll also take a look at the aftermath. Later on, I'll come to that hopefully. But yeah,
Great.
I'm
So,
a bit
Jeffrey, I
pessimistic
have
here.
a point on that.
Let's hear it.
An unwritten rule of incident management, the very first question you have to ask is, do we have to tell?
Really?
Oh, you hurt my risk manager's heart, Bob.
Real world,
Yeah.
just saying.
Right. Yeah. Uh, so this
Another
is some great data. Let's talk a little bit about ransomware because we also have a ransomware report. But almost a third of the breaches are a result of ransomware, which is a big climb up over last year's report.
Yeah, exactly. So this year it's 31% of the breaches are that are coming from your third parties are ransomware initiated, and which is a 18% increase over the last year. So there's a significant rise, and hackers are targeting the low-hanging fruits, low-hanging supply chains in particular, which are manufacturing and healthcare.
Right, which
And
we've talked about before.
yeah, and another
Yeah.
interesting statistics just about ransomware is that in 2024, we saw 46 new ransomware groups popping up under new names. Maybe you're gonna talk about it in the webinar, but we don't think they're new because when we take a look at their tactics and their methodologies, no, we know them from somewhere. That is the case.
So it's the same bad actors sort of spinning up new companies, I guess, to
Yeah.
attack, right? To kind of stay ahead of authorities. So that's interesting. So let me ask you sort of a follow-up question, right? So researchers, when you go into a project, you generally have some thoughts or ideas or assumptions about what you're going to learn.
Mhm.
Anything come out of this where you went, wow, that's a big surprise?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a different experience, when you track or monitor the breaches, the third party in those breaches on a daily basis throughout the year, versus when you have all the data right in front of you on the computer screen and you're saying, wow, I wasn't expecting this. Okay. Yeah. For the unauthorized access, this was the case. And I asked myself again this year, no, I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting more transparency. Another interesting stuff was there's a decrease in the software vulnerabilities, which I expected vice versa. I was expecting a surge, a rise in the software vulnerabilities, but hopefully the developers, are adapting to secure coding practices, and the regulatory, regulations have an impact on the software development. Software vendors who are serving to financial and some other companies. But it's, software from the perspective of confidentiality, it's okay. It's 5% of the breaches. But when we take a look at the CrowdStrike, it's another side of software vulnerability, okay? It's not the results of a malicious attack, but it's the result of a human error. I mean, who was, who was a developer and, unintentionally that created a ripple effect, and it caused a major disruption with the cost close to $1 billion. So it forced us to change our perspective. Okay, we shouldn't always look at the issues from the perspective of confidentiality. There's this availability issue. It might not be malicious, it might be a result of a human error, but there is this availability issue in the supply chain, and we should look at the issue from the perspective of vendor reliability. So that's the second thing that surprised me.
Right. Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's get our faces back up there. And again, we'll share all of this great data after. So, Bob, anything kind of jump out at you as new or noteworthy or interesting or surprising? I mean, you've been around the block a couple of 24s, so not much surprises you, but What kind of made you go, ah?
Well, Gokchen mentioned disappointment, and so I've learned over my career as I manage my disappointment by lowering expectations, and even though I had some hope that things were changing, I was disappointed again with the results. This whole process. It's I Jeffrey, like you, I go to a lot of events, and mine are usually third party risk focused, and I hear what they talk about. I hear what their concerns are, and really hasn't changed much. But they're gonna apply AI, and AI is gonna fix it all. And what the report really, for me, tells me is that what we're doing isn't really working. Uh, it just isn't. So there was no aha moment. There was nothing new. There's nothing unexpected other than the bad actors are more agile than us.
Right.
Gokchen talked about it.
Oh crap! Here we go again. Was your surprise?
Yeah, exactly. It's oh yeah, well we're in a spotlight now. Let's drop out of sight, change our names, get some new server somewhere, do something different, and pop up and do it again. And they do that almost overnight. I mean, this is something that happens very quickly. They'll disappear and appear. But in the world of information technology and cybersecurity, as a CISO, the process that I have to go through if I want to add something new to my toolkit, I got to go through RFP, I got to go through budget, I've got to go through all these approvals. And third-party risk management's the same way. It's still focused on a compliance perspective. And, I think this report for me just continues to point out the glaring failures of a TPRM process that's compliance focused.
Right. All right. So, let's pause here because we have a couple of questions from our audience. So first question, and this is great. And I think Gokchen, this is probably for you. How many of these attacks that we analyze, these 200 plus attacks, would have been prevented if people had basic, what we say basic blocking and tackling, but basic controls like MFA or patching? Do you think that would have helped?
Oh, that's a great question, by the way. So I need to dive into the data to answer this question fully, but I can name a few incidents at least. So the Snowflake attack, for example, the attackers found the leaked credentials on dark web and utilized those credentials with no multi-factor authentication to infiltrate into companies. So that isn't a sophisticated tactic. That's all you need to do is buy those credentials and try logging in. That's simple. So this mindset enabling multi-factor authentication could have disabled this attack. And I think there was a very high cost to this attack. Another attack that we could have prevented was the, I think, Change Healthcare attack, where hackers utilized a vulnerability in the Citrix server, and they managed to log into the Citrix server with the account that there was no multi-factor authentication. So that's another example to basic security controls. And also the Clio theft, by the way, Clio data theft. So the hackers used a combination of zero-day vulnerability and a well-known vulnerability. So that vulnerability was not patched. So eventually hackers managed to leak out, tons of data, the disruptions in the supply chain. So it was a cross-industry attack. It caused disruptions in the, manufacturing supply chain, healthcare supply chain. So many industries were affected as a result of those vulnerabilities in the supply chain. So they are really basic controls that you could implement, simple basic controls. So
Right.
yeah, I can name these incidents.
That's great. So I have a new acronym I'm going to coin. It's PYSS, patch your stuff silly. because people are not getting patches out there, right? Basic blocking and tackling. So, all right, great. Right. So let's kind of shift a little bit. And so, Gochin, looking backwards, and then I'm going to ask you to take out your sort of researcher crystal ball. What do you see next year, the year after? More of the same? Everybody's talking about AI as the big danger, and I think we can talk about whether, in fact, AI is new or whether it just enables us to do stuff we've already been doing. But what do you see kind of as the future here? Is it going to get worse? Is it going to get better?
I think, we always have the third party risk management perspective. So I believe that, it's not getting any simpler. It's even becoming more complex. And now we are facing with a lot of AI applications and the agents coming our way. I mean, there are discussions, tons of discussions on YouTube, on other channels, saying, the agents, AI agents will replace the software, the traditional software. I'd like to call them AI software, agent software, rather than AI agents. But so the landscape is converting towards being more AI augmented, and it means humans are less involved in the process, less involved in the coding. So it's kind of freaking me out because we are losing control on the code that is running out there. So it increases the unknown factor in the software. So from the point of software, I don't see a good picture. Okay, this year it decreased to 5%, but what about next year? There will be a lot of agentic applications, agentic software, which we don't know what that agent does. I mean, what kind of sites that agent visits, what kind of information it pulls out, what kind of libraries it utilizes. I mean, we're already new to the AI. Come on, accept that. We're just using to learn AI. And there are tons of different AI applications and agentic applications coming our way. We barely know the technology, let alone know the security of this technology. So it's freaking me out. I'm not.
It's,
So
you know
I'm going to
what?
be
It's
honest.
freaking me out too. And I will tell you, I never heard the term agentic AI until about 3 months ago at a CISO breakfast, and now I hear it every single day. I also want to applaud us. We got 13 minutes into this webinar before anyone said AI, which is like amazing because I think it's legally you have to say that.
Yeah, it's a success.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're coming up on time. So let me kind of hand it back to Bob for a simple but not easy question. So, what should CISOs, CROs, CIOs, and their colleagues be doing with this information? So, in other words, what are you doing, and what should our listeners be doing to move toward solving, move toward being better? Hopefully disappointing Gochin in her pessimistic, which I agree with you, which is that it's going to get better. So, what can we do so that frankly, I would take dead even as a win going forward. So what should people be doing?
All right, so we need a half an hour to answer that, but I'll try to do it very, very quickly.
Well, we'll do a follow-up, Bob.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with a quote by Colonel John R. Boyd, the author of the OODA Loop. And one of the things he said is you got to challenge all assumptions. Otherwise, what becomes doctrine today becomes dogma forever. And, I look at it from a CISO point of view in third-party risk management, is that it's very challenging for a CISO just to defend their own environment. We have an upcoming report on the vulnerability risk and a review of CVEs over last year. And Gochin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there over 40,000 CVEs
Yeah, close to that.
It's massive. And what we're doing is, I see this a lot of CISOs. They are very, very good at protecting their environment, the first party. But we're depending upon compliance. We're depending upon contracts that we're going to do what we minimally have to do around our third parties, simply that if something bad happens there, that we're covered contractually, we're covered, from the liability perspective. It's challenging enough to keep bad actors out of your own environment. Now you've got 1,000 third parties that you think you're responsible for. So I think that dogma is, yeah, let's just shift the blame, because transfer of risk is a legitimate option when you're analyzing risk. So I think that's what we're doing. And I see this at conferences. I was on a panel, and I'm going to mention AI, that the panelist actually said that she believed that AI could give us an advantage over the bad actors. And I had a chat with her afterwards, and we discussed it more at length. And she did come over to the thought process of, at best, AI will give us a level playing field with the bad actors.
Right.
At best. But they're far more agile, so I don't think it's even going to be at best. So CISOs need to look at this report and help change how they view third-party risk management around an agile perspective, because it is going to affect you. It's not just your data that could be breached at a third party. It's like a third party piece of software gets breached, and now the bad actors are inside your environment. You still have somebody to blame, but that's not the goal here. Third party risk management. The goal of third party risk management should be about reducing risk that third parties present us. So we really need to change how we think. We need to get rid of that dogma of questionnaires, of compliance, and be more real time, more proactive. The report that we have coming up on the vulnerability risk management has some amazing processes around that. That's for another event. But
Here's it. Every time I hear this, when I first saw that report, my feet were like tapping. That report is unreal. And
I know.
I can't wait to do a follow up and talk about
I'm looking
that.
forward to it too. But yeah, the takeaway is you have to change how you think.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Gochin, any final thoughts from you before we wrap up and send everyone on their merry way?
Yeah, I agree with Bob. I mean, this game will continue as long as we live in this world. I mean, there are always bad guys and good guys, and the battle is ongoing. But, we can have advantage if we are smarter than the bad guys, if we know more than the bad guys, if we are more proactive than the bad guys. So it all ties up to the proactive risk management. AI gives us a playground. I mean, to be at the same level in terms of knowledge, in terms of methods, attacks with the hackers, but it's not enough. We have to be ahead of them in terms of technology, in terms of the gaps in our supply chain. And we can definitely make use of AI in managing third-party risk. We are already doing that in my department. But yes, we have to be smarter than those guys, and the battle is ongoing. So yeah.
Yep. That's why I love references to like Art of War, because we are at war and we're losing. And there are a variety of reasons why. So, all right. So this has been super, super fun. So everyone should definitely take a look at the report. Really, really proud of the work. There's some great, great stuff in there. So I want to thank Bob and Gochin, and I want to thank all of our listeners and those of you who are listening live and may listen in the future. So with that, stay safe, stay healthy, stay secure. Wheatman, Maley, and Tapkin out.